Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Samuel, the second chapter, and continuing from where we left off in 2 Samuel, the first chapter, as David and his men get word about the death of Saul and Jonathan and his sons, and they lament, and mourn upon hearing that news. So here we are in 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 1. And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord Yahweh, saying, Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him, Go up. And David said, Whither shall I go up? And he said, Unto Hebron. So that was where David went to dwell. So David went up thither, and his two wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying, that the men of Jabesh Gilead were they that buried Saul. Because remember, they had upon hearing about what the Philistines did after capturing the bodies of Saul and Jonathan, they went through, I believe, overnight, and recovered the bodies and burned it, and then buried the bones. So they basically informed David that, yeah, these men, this is what they did, concerning Saul. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord Yahweh, that ye have shewed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord shew kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because ye have done this thing. So may the Lord bless you, right, and show kindness just as you've showed unto Saul, and I will also repay you for this kindness that you've done. Now therefore let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant, for your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. So David exhorted them and encouraged them to be strong, and basically to to come under him, right, being that he was the new king, at least of Judah at this point. But Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. So it wasn't all of Saul's sons that were slain in the war, right? And so here we see Ishbosheth being one of Saul's sons that was here, and Abner, which was Saul's uncle, basically set him up. As we're about to read, that's what he did. And made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. So that's Abner, and some of the servants here being like the troops that were on the side of Ishbosheth. They ended up, upon one day coming into Gibeon. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. So there was an encounter here between the men of that were with Abner and those that were with Joab here at the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool, and the and the other on the other side of the pool. So you have Joab's men on one side, and right across you have Abner's men. And Abner said to Joab, "Let the young men now arise and play before us." And Joab said, "Let them arise." Now, this playing here doesn't mean they were playing tag with each other, right? Or Hebrew hopscotch. When it says play here, it's first I'll go into that word, and then I'll read it in another translation for more clarity. Shachak, but it says here to mock, laugh, play, sport, jest. But let's go into the lexicon here. And right, so it says here to play, to sport, example as children. It says also used of the play of arms and skirmishes, and arms are weapons. Okay, so their so-called playing was really like you bring your best, a few of your men, right, and a few of mine, and they'll go basically head on with each other. So this is this is like NLT. It says, then Abner suggested to Joab, let's have a few of our warriors fight hand to hand here in front of us. All right, Joab agreed. NIV, then Abner said to Joab, let's have some of the young men get up and fight hand to hand in front of us. All right, let them do it, Joab said. So that's what it meant by play. Then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. So 12 men from each side. And they caught every one his fellow by the head, and thrust his sword into his fellow's side. So they fell down together. So basically, when they engaged with one another, they just basically like killed each other, right? By way of stabbing. And so they all just died at that point. Wherefore that place was called Helkath Hazurim, which is in Gibeon. And we can actually take a look at what that name means. Helkath Hazurim. Field of Swords, a place near the pool of Gibeon where Ishbosheth's men were killed by David's men under Joab. Which really, as it reads, I believe they killed each other. Yeah. All right. Verse 17. And there was a very sore battle that day. So that pretty much set off the battle. And then they started going one against each other. And Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. So Abner's men ended up losing. And there were three sons of Zeruiah there, which I believe Zeruiah was a sister of David. So that would make Joab, Abishai, and Asahel, which were brothers, David's nephews. Joab and Abishai and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe, which means he was very fast, right? Almost comparable to that of a roe when they're very quickly, or they're very quick. And Asahel pursued after Abner, and in going he turned not to the right hand, nor to the left from following Abner. So in the battle, he basically set a target on Abner. Now, keep in mind that Abner wasn't like a joke, right? He wouldn't have been captain of the host or head of Saul's army had he been a joke, right? So he's also very well experienced in war, all the way from the days of Saul, even up until now. But Asahel set his sights on him and started to pursue him. Then Abner looked behind him and said, Art thou Asahel? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, Turn thee aside to thy right hand or to thy left, and lay hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. So, turn your attention to one of them and take them out. or at the very least, you know, put on their armor or something to that effect. But basically, stop following me. And Abner wasn't saying that out of fear of for his life, as we're about to find out. But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. So Asahel was just stayed dead on Abner and kept chasing him. And Abner said again to Asahel, "Turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab thy brother?" So in other words, this is your final warning, right? Stop following me because I'm gonna have to kill you. And if I kill you, then what am I gonna, how am I gonna answer to your brother? Verse 23, howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner with the hinder end of the spear smote him under the fifth rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place. So now, you can imagine, probably with the speed that Asahel is coming with, he probably wasn't able to react in time to this, right? To where, maybe you had Abner running right up ahead, Asahel right behind him, and at some point he just does like a split-second stop and either turn or just launches his spear backward, since Asahel will be right behind him, right? And Asahel basically run right into it. And as it says, that spear pierced him through all the way till the spear came out from his back. And after that, he basically fell down there and died. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died stood still. So you can imagine they were probably like shocked, like, damn, oh shit. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lieth before Giah, by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of an hill. So they basically regrouped at the top of the hill with Abner. At this point, the sun is down, it's getting late, it's dark. And Abner called to Joab. So he basically shouted to Joab and said, "Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren?" So in other words, are we just gonna keep on going one at another? The end of it is it's not gonna be good, right? It's just gonna be bloodshed. Why don't you go ahead and basically call back your men from pursuing us? So pretty much the fight is just over, right? Like our men are already fleeing, so you just call your men back. And Joab said, "As God liveth, unless thou hadst spoken, surely in the morning the people had gone up, every one from following his brother." So, unless you had said something, if you didn't say anything, we were really about to continue pursuing you all throughout the night until the next morning. That's what it means by surely in the morning had the men gone up, everyone from following his brother. So they would have pursued them all the way till the next morning. So Joab blew a trumpet. So let me silence that. So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still, and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. And Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain, and passed over Jordan, and walked through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men, and Asahel. But the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. So of Abner's men, they lost 360. But of David, they lost only, 19? And Asahel. And they took up Asahel and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at break of day. And so here we conclude 2 Samuel with the burial of Asahel and the return of Joab and his men back to Hebron, having engaged in this fierce battle with the men of Abner. That brings us to the end of 2 Samuel, the second chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachak, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.